Hello, everybody. Brian here from quantlabs.net. We are going to start doing our futures presentation on which broker. Okay, so what we're going to do is talk about futures. Why futures? Obviously, the big reason is simple. It's heavily regulated in the U.S. All introducing brokers I'll be talking about are regulated by these brokers. So as a result, they will be not going to be doing any funky stuff that you'd find in the world of forex brokers. That is. So I have here some videos I've lined up. I'm not going to play them, but if you are familiar with MotiveWave, I have highlighted them before. They are probably the best platform out there on the planet for what it does. It's highly advanced, pretty simple, but it has a lot of depth in terms of features in the product. So what I've done is, just so you know, I'm going to put this in the chat box. Let me just find it here. I just put up a okay. So right here, I've got a just going to put this in the chat if you want a copy of it. This is a copy of what the videos I'm going to show you right now on MotiveWave. So you can go to here for this. So what I'm referring to when I say MotiveWave 6 is the current version. There's 3 beta videos that they've put out, and it's very in-depth of what you can do with futures. On MotiveWave, it's probably no other platform outside of institutional platforms that I've seen that brings this to the world available for retail traders. It is a pricey platform if you choose to go with the, let's say, the Ultimate Edition. This set of features you cannot get anywhere else, as I said, with any trading platform. So what you can do, it's pretty crazy. You have their depth of market is just mind-blowing, what you can do with it. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think the best asset class to trade is futures, but when you start looking at a platform like MotiveWave, you'll start to realize why MotiveWave was built and what is the best instruments or asset class to go with MotiveWave. So that's number one. So with that in mind, let me just go on to my next point here. Okay, so what I've looked at is I've kind of highlighted what MotiveWave can do as a trading platform. So because of that, let me just kill that. That enables you to trade with confidence with MotiveWave as well as as well as futures as well using MotiveWave. So I want to show you the connections that you can get with MotiveWave. This is really absolutely important if you do decide to go with MotiveWave as a platform. I could talk about my experience with algo trading and developing with it. But here you have all the typical connections that you can use with MotiveWave. The primary ones that you need to be aware of is the ones for futures. The 2 big ones, as you can see here, gateway connectors. The 2 big ones will either be Rithmic or CQG. So to get the features I just showed you, you have to have one of the either, I think it's really Rithmic or CQG as your data provider to get the features I just talked about with MotiveWave. So that's number one. The other thing is which broker to go with. So that's the whole point of this topic here that we're covering. So when you start at the top here under MotiveWave connections, I'm going to put this in the chat as well if you want to get a reference for it. A couple of big ones to highlight here. The 2 industry ones that a lot of people use out of the US is AMP Global Clearing. You can see here it's going to use both Rithmic and CQG, as well as the other one that a lot of people use is this Optimus. So those are the two big ones that most folks use when it comes to futures. For me, I want to move into options. So options for me, which this is one of the reasons why I like this broker. I'm going to talk a lot about it. This is one called Canon Trading. So they are using Rithmic, but the thing is, what you'll find here is not only can you work with futures, but you can also start working with options. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going to go ahead and move and open an account with Canon Trading, because it covers both futures and options, while AMP is only futures, and same with Optimus is futures only. One of the good things about both futures and options, there's a number of strategies you can use to play off each other for both. Do you go into the options market? Do you go into the futures market? So on and so forth. So there's all these other brokers you can choose from. Dorman's one of them right here. I can't comment upon which broker's better, but I will just tell you which one I plan to go with, which is the Canon, and I'll go in more detail with that in a little bit. So knowing that, we have all these other brokers here. E-mini, I have no comment on them. Gain, I'm not sure. I think this is related more around binary options and forex and CFD, so it's something I wouldn't be too excited about. The other one a lot of people talk about is Stage 5. It's another popular one, and the other one is this TradeOvate, if I can find it. Yeah, right here. This other one called TradeOvate. That's probably a next best option to go with because they're a little cheaper, and a lot of people like that broker as well. So those are the ones that I would recommend. These ones here, United Futures, and there's another one, Trade Futures for Less. Not sure, but when I looked at some of these, I can't say for all of them, but some of them were out of India, so that kind of defeats the purpose. You want to be with a US-based broker, I find. So those are all the options you have available with the futures market. So that is regarding futures brokers. You got any questions at all, Ejai, if you want on that? Okay, cool, thanks. Okay, so knowing that, if you've watched some of my past videos here, one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of forex, it doesn't move a lot unless you want to put in high risk leverage. The other problem I don't like about retail forex brokers is most likely they can cheat you. So for instance, if you have a stop loss, they'll kick you out of the trade as your position moves closer to your take profit level, and they'll just blame it on technology and get you out of the trade. So there's all these cheating ways to get you out of trades, even though some are regulated. I'm just not a fan, and that's why I'm switching over to futures, because it's just, as I said, it's just heavily regulated, and no broker with a left brain would ever monkey around with orders, because all it takes is to complain to the CME or one of the exchanges about the broker, and the broker will not risk their relationship they have with the futures exchange. So there's no way a broker will risk that. So chances are they will not want to monkey around with your trades or anything like that, because they know it just takes one complaint. All right, so knowing all that, one of the advantages I will say about the Oanda data, I've shown videos on this, or any retail forex broker, for data from a high level. It is safe to say you can use the CFD data to see which data you want to work with for which type of future. So there's nothing wrong with that. Same with the forex as well, and what kind of currency to go with as well. And then you just kind of make a judgment based on that, and then trade the associated future contract that you're interested in based upon what you see in the forex data. And I do that with Oanda data. So that's one of the, and probably only advantage you get with forex. Any questions so far? Just jump in whenever you want if you got a question or not. Don't be shy about that. So we've covered the different types of broker accounts you can get with MotiveWave. So let's start talking about the one I chose, the Canon. This one right here. So these guys have been around for over 25 years. They're apparently one of the original brokers out there. So what I did was I started investigating into Canon. Like I said, I have no association with Canon, but I will say that there are some really good things you can find. So I'll put this link in the chat if you want. Here you will get this page that you're looking at. For those on the podcast, or will be turning a podcast, Canon Trading looks good for futures and options asset class. That's the name of the post here. So when you look at some of the reviews on this, it looks really good. You can see, if I was to show you Elite Trader, Futures IO, there's very few complaints regarding Canon. And it raises my confidence. Same kind of with on Yelp as well. And you can see that they are out of Beverly Hills in California. So that's where they're located. And when you go to this article, especially the number one broker that comes up is Canon. Okay, so let me just see if I can find it. Let's see here. Looks like this page is doing something. I'm not a big fan of Medium anymore. Anyways, I'll just leave it at that. But you can find all the references here. But you will, most of the time, Canon comes out number one of all the futures brokers out of the U.S. So I've got lots of references here. And I'm in Canada. They do take Canadian accounts, but I have to go through a different futures clearing merchant because I'm out of Canada. And depending upon where you're at, you're going to be piped through a different clearing merchant. But they've got quite a few at Canon because they've been around for quite a while. The customer service is pretty good. So as I said, I did a whole thread with them on the overall. I'll put this in the chat as well. So here, I'm starting out really tiny. They suggest that you start with $750 if you're going to do the eMicros accounts. I'll show you the different types of contracts to go with. If you're going to do the full contracts, they suggest that you start with $2,500, all in the US dollar. So those are the minimum account sizes you need to get started. I think that could be said right across all futures brokers. So they're pretty good. And as I said, the other big advantage that I just don't want you to lose highlight is not just does Canon support futures, but they also support options. And that's a big deal as you build up an account and you get bigger, that you can now start to work in with options down the line as you're hopefully going to get more profitable. So let me just cover some of the major points in the thread here with them. I did cover pretty well everything you can imagine. One of the things I asked about was data from a provider like Rithmic. It's not very expensive. If you go $10 a month with whatever exchange you want, it's going to be $10 a month for that particular exchange, and that's going to be billed through the broker Canon Trading. So there's lots of things I've covered. So that's probably the most important of all of them is the charges. Also, you can see here another big factor is margin requirements for doing any type of contract or instrument on a futures broker. I think they're all regulated the same. There's going to be how much that will cost you if you go with the one of the micros, let's say, and it depends upon, because there's going to be different margin requirements. If you're just doing day trading, it's, let's say in this case, I can't remember. I think it's like corn or some contract. You're going to be needing $49.50 for the day trade, and if you want to hang on to it, it's $198 for an overnight hold for the margin requirements. So it's going to be $198 plus another $198 you need to cover the overnight margin in the for the contract. So you have to remember that, because if you want to get out before 6 p.m. Eastern Standard, you'll be able to close out and be considered just having day trading margin. Other fees here is they charge you 25 cents per side for the execution of the order, and so on and so forth. So you can find all these fees available, and it's not too exorbitant. The only one I'd worry about is this the contract itself plus the margin requirement to fulfill the order as well. As I said, it's $10 per exchange for whatever you're going to trade. So as I said, this is the requirement you would need for, let's say, corn. So corn is one of the lower ones. The exchange you'd be going through is the Chicago Board of Trade. Initial margin is 198, and plus you need the maintenance margin as well, and then the day cost of the margin or the contract sells 198. So it can be up to 576. So I've kind of done the math there. And that's pretty well the more complicated things when it comes to trading with Canon or any other futures broker. If you got any questions, just let me know. Okay, so we got that covered off. So that's Canon. As I said, I've gone over the reviews. So what we need to go through now is the actual requirements for your contract, whatever you're wanting to trade. So what we have here is we have the different categories of the different types of contracts you want to trade. So for instance, we have the E-micros, which is a much lower priced instrument. So we have currencies here. And this is what I love about futures versus forex, because here you can still get exposure or direct exposure to a forex pair you want, which is obviously all going to be in US dollar. We have Australian, British, Canadian, Euro, Indian, Japanese, Swiss franc, and I do know that there's we have, okay, so those are all the micros, and these are all the needed contract sizes. So you can see how small they are. So for instance, if you're going to trade forex, right now with the forex market going crazy, people are saying, well, trade the Australian dollar. So you need 198 to do the trade on that contract, and then 180 for the maintenance margin, and you can make those contracts happen. And again, you can do the same thing in forex. You can do the short, you can do the long, no problem there. But this is a good one to be part of, is the Australian micro, and then obviously you have the British pound, Canadian euro, and all that, as I said. But for the regular size contracts, a full-on contract, you have the Brazilian real. This is a really powerful pair, Australian against the Japanese yen right now. That's probably the most profitable trade that most people want. Australian dollar against the US. We have, on top of that, we have the Japanese yen, Korean won, Mexico peso, and the Swiss franc, and the Swedish krona, and the rand. So this is important to understand, but you obviously have to have a larger account to make these trades happen. But again, hopefully, let's say in a year, 2 years, you're doing well. Okay, so that's currencies and the financial contracts. Then we get into energies. So obviously, you can do micros for oil, which is where is it? I know there's micros here. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. Well, we have the E-mini natural gas. I think that's probably it. I thought, yeah, and crude oil right here. That's quite a bit. I think that's a typo for the E-mini crude oil. So technically, you can trade that as a micro. I'm pretty sure of it. One that might be good towards the fall, or let's say mid-July, as we gear into the heating season. The natural gas, that's a predictable seasonal trade. Same with oil, and you have all the typical contracts there for energy, financial. This is a very interesting one to trade. I would think is the Treasury, the 2-year Treasury note. If the markets tank, this will be a great one to be part of, because I've got guys shorting Treasuries like crazy, and they're betting pretty big on Treasuries right now. So this is a good one to be part of. And then we get into the euro dollar. That's a good defensive one. LIBOR, if people still trade that. But you can see there's all these different financials, but the best one, as far as I know, is a two-year T-note for us small little guys. All right, so there's that. Grain. If the markets come off and there's nothing else to trade, seasonal trades. Corn looked pretty good on my last analysis. We have mini corn at 198, so that's a good one to go after. Soybean, I don't know, but this one I like. Mini corn is pretty good. There's all the other ones that I'm sure you know about. Indices, this was good. If the markets don't take off, we have the standard U.S. indices as well as the euro, probably some Asian in there as well. But namely the mini micros, the minis are all right here. So those are what's available. And then we get in the meats. I'm not sure about that. And then metals, obviously, gold's a big one. Wherever I can find the micro. But they got to have them. And then we have the sauce, all the usual. But earlier this year, a good one was sugar. That was an excellent play. So who knows if sugar will come back. But we have the standard agriculture, what they call softs. That's pretty well it. So I kind of highlighted what I would go after on the contract basis of where we stand right now on June 15th. Any questions on that at all? Let me know. No? Okay. Thanks. All right. So those are the contracts that you can go after, standard on any broker. As I said, if you want to go with the exchanges, so let's say if you want to go after 3 different contracts that are on 3 different exchanges, it's going to be $10 per month for the exchange. And again, that's using Rithmic data. And that's a good one for with MotiveWave as well. So we also talked about the margin requirements. Oh, and one last tip. If you're really into this, bar chart's a really good data source. If I can find it right here. So again, one thing I really like about futures here, I don't know how current this is. This is setting up for as of now. Let me just do a refresh. But these are all the contracts lining up based upon. Let me just get back to where I was. So if you do a search on Google for bar chart, and it'll be most active contracts, most active all futures. So as this loads up, you can see here, as I said, corn's looking good for that contract, but I'm not sure why the indices are not listed here at this time. I mean, it is 7:30, but probably tomorrow morning or maybe 3, 4 my time, Eastern Standard Time, that this will obviously change. The volumes will change. But right now, you can see there's an interest in corn. That's your number one. There's also the U.S. dollar index, so the euro dollar might be up there. Another one from the currency side, this Australian dollar is looking good. The S&P E-minis getting loaded up. So those are the ones I'd be really kind of watching. But if I was to get active based upon what I'm seeing, I like this corn trade right there. As you can see, there's no, we have a 5-year T-note, but we don't have the 2-year. But 10 and 5 years up here. And that's what I'd trade as one of the hints to know what to trade leading into the next trading day. And I've also shown other ways to do it using harmonics in MotiveWave, as well as the Hurst cycle that I've used as well to confirm direction on certain instruments. So those are the leading indicators I'd use for knowing which contract to go with. And that's pretty well it. That's all I got, really. Just want to throw that tip out there. If you got any questions, let me know, man. I can sit here and talk all you want, if you want. But overall, that's pretty well it. I mean, that's why I like Canon. You know, and you go easy. You go maybe day trade only with $600-700 in an account to cover your margin and whatever you decide to trade. I would obviously go with the low volume ones with the lowest margin requirement right now. As I said, corn's looking pretty good for maybe you can do it for about $250 from what I saw, and you can probably maybe do another one if you have an account size of 1,000. Maybe do treasures if the markets come off, because I think we're at the tipping end of the U.S. markets right now. I can be wrong, but that's how I look at it. If I had the account and a proper account of 2,500, I'd probably do some currencies, and the big leading one I'd be looking at is definitely Australia. That's pretty well it. If you got any questions, let me know. If not, we'll just give it a wrap for tonight then. Anything you want to ask about trading or automation or anything, EJ? Okay, go ahead, man. Why don't you unmute yourself, man? Be easier for you. Sorry. Sorry. Go ahead, man. Hey, man. Yeah. Well, these are right here, right? Depends upon your size. This is all U.S. dollar. If you want to try to trade the micros, they suggest you have at least 750. Okay, and then if you're going to go the full contract, you need 2,500. Okay, so you could probably do a couple of corn contracts at 750, day trading only. You could probably get away with that. But at this level, you're severely handicapped. But believe me, I'm no different than you. But if you do have the 2,500 for the full contract or for the full contracts, then yeah, go ahead and do that, obviously. But I have been told you want to properly trade the futures market, you have to have like 25 grand. But we're all starting out, so that's why the exchanges brought out the micros, because they want people to come in at a low level. So that's why they lowered the margin requirements to enable that. Does that answer your question? Oh, yeah. I mean, with Canon, you get full support with Canon at whatever the support doesn't change. You have to understand the support with Canon trading is probably the best that I've seen so far, and either amount will get you started, no problem. They got a huge amount of resources available, and plus they send out bulletins every week on what to trade, and it's really geared for beginners as well. Make sense? Because one thing I forgot to mention about interactive brokers for trading with futures, if you go to that link that I've provided about Canon trading, the biggest complaint I get about interactive brokers is their data. And what they do with the data, they aggregate it. But because you're with a really good data provider with either CQG or Rithmic, the data does not get aggregated. It's real time. They don't hold it back. And that obviously becomes pretty critical if you're going to start day trading any type of futures contract. So from my point of view, you're better off to go with a Canon, an AMP, an Optimus versus an interactive brokers because of the data. I could be wrong, but with the data, you have to pay on top of the interactive brokers as well. And I just think that Canon's the best place to start. Okay. And again, that's using, well, you can use any platform you want. But as I said, what I'm going to be using is the MotiveWave platform because that's what I like. It's the number one platform out there that I've worked with. It's not a cheap platform, but with the features you get and how advanced it is, I've got guys that spend like $1,000 on, let's say, NinjaTrader, and then all of a sudden they outgrow it, they get tired of the bugs, and then they end up going to like TradeStation, and they find that they're limited with that. So they're already over $2,000 in. So if you wanted to go with MotiveWave as a platform and just stay with one really strong really robust platform, I would probably suggest, MotiveWave is all you need. It does everything. It trades live with crypto, forex, all the popular brokers out there. So you can choose whatever edition you want. You can just start at $24 for the month, and you can go, if you get real crazy, you can go all the way up to $250 a month or 150. It depends upon what edition you want. But I've played with a lot of platforms. I'm not seeing anything like MotiveWave at all. So just want to let you know that. And the thing is that that's one of the reasons why I have my list of brokers, is because of the connection list that um, MotiveWave will talk to. All of these brokers they talk to. So sorry, go ahead. Um, Pretty well, yeah, yeah. And as I said, you can start really low. If you just want to do really solid charting, you can get either start at 245 and grow from there, or if you just want to try it, you can get uh, a 2 week trial at no cost, and that will give you access to the Ultimate Edition. This one right here, but that's the really pricey one. That's over $2,500, whatever it comes out to. Um, 22.95 US for a lifetime license. Plus, you have to pay for the support as well. Every year, it's like a couple $100. Their support's really good too. They seem to be a fast-growing platform as well. It's another highly rated platform as well. So, yeah. So that's what I'm going with. I've done the Python. I've done all that. I will tell you, you could spend a month, a week, 3 months, depending upon your knowledge in a programming language like Python. And the thing is that you will just spin your wheels most of the time, realizing how limited you can be. But when you start moving and looking at a MotiveWave or any platform, you'll see you can do things in minutes because it's all there. All the heavy lifting's done for you. So I'm kind of in between developing my own solutions and having a trading platform as well. So that's the world I live in. Any other questions you have at all? Anything about trading, or I can help you out with it? Oh, you're still mute. You're still muted. Oh, yeah. You just got to get unmuted. There you go. Oh, go ahead. Can I hear you? Doesn't sound like I can hear you, man. You can hear me okay, right? Why don't you switch it over to the chat, if that's easier for you? I can ask you a question there if I can't, if you have an audio problem. You can hear me okay, that's cool. If you got any question, let me know. Because for whatever reason, I couldn't hear you on my end. I have you on block on. Oh, okay. If I answer all your questions, that's cool. Appreciate it. So we'll do a wrap. Next week, I'll probably do another topic. I mean, this was very last minute because I wasn't sure which way to go. No problem on the presentation, dude. Wherever I can help you out, just let me know. You got my email, right? Okay, cool. Well, hey, man. That's pretty well it. That's all I have for you tonight. Just out of curiosity, where are you out of? Where do you live right now? Oh, you aren't? Well, okay, you're part of my meetup, I guess. Gotcha. I'm hoping to do another physical meetup, depending upon the COVID situation. I mean, obviously, I'm limited there. Anything else I can help you out with? If not, we'll just do a wrap. Oh, ready for the wrap. Well, my wrap is we just disappear. All right, man. Thanks for coming out.